Good morning. I would like to introduce you to Megan Hayes. She's an ESL teacher at Leestown Middle School in Lexington, Kentucky. And I'm delighted to come back to her room. I visited her in the fall, and she's just awesome, and she knows her students very well. And I'm going to ask her some questions right now. And I'd like to know, first of all, what are the four language domains recommendations that you have for gathering data?
For gathering data, we use a lot of the WIDA assessment standards. So what we have is we have can-do descriptors, and what they tell us for each domain what a student can do at the level that they tested at. But with that, you have to be like in most data collections, is that was a one-day test. So a lot of times these kids who took the speaking test did fairly well, even though they were very shy in the classroom and then maybe they don't speak, so you have to do a little bit different. Or they did really bad that day because they were having a hard day, and in the classroom they can actually do more. So you have to use more than just the assessments that come off of the WIDA access testing. Some things that you can do in the classroom would be, I do a lot of PowerPoints where I put my own voice into it, and I'll have them listening, and then I'll ask them questions based on what I said. So I'll kind of assess that for their listening. For speaking, I have them do their own projects where they create presentations, and they'll either speak on their presentation. If they're really shy, the presentation will speak for them by them recording their own voices, or if there's someone who's a little bit more lively, they'll stand in front of the classroom and present. For reading and writing is a little bit easier because you can do that more in a classroom setting with reading comprehension and writing assessments. So there's many different ways that we can gather the data for those four different domains.
And thinking about a particular student, what can you do to involve the student in their own assessment?
A lot of times the kids make their own rubrics. So we'll have done one to start with, and then we'll kind of critique it and say, okay, well, this is what we had needed to do. What do we need to do to fix it? So we create our rubrics based on, for one, so if they're doing the presentations, we'll say, let's look at the speaking domain of this presentation. What should be the rubric? Well, one, they have to talk loud enough so everyone can hear them. The fewest amount of ums or sounds in between. So there's a rubric that they'll make for each domain. For their written portion, they'll make the rubric for their grammar must be correct. They must capitalize the first letter in the sentence. They must have punctuation at the end. So they get involved within making their own rubrics. I feel like if they are involved in it, then they know exactly what needs to be done. Then if I were to give them a rubric, they kind of understand it, and then they don't do it. So them being involved in making their own rubrics are very important.
I know the importance of also a balanced assessments, and that you had mentioned the WIDA, the access test.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any other standardized tests that you all use in the district here in Fayette County?
For ESL, no. But we just started something called the TELL, TELL, and it's made by Pearson. Like everything's made by Pearson. And we use it on our iPads, and it's a progress monitoring device. So we've only done 2 so far. So they've done their benchmark, which is the beginning of year assessment. And then throughout the year, they can take it 5 to 7 times to show progress throughout the year, which is really nice. And it's all 4 domains get tested. And it's kind of a fun iPad game. Like one of the questions would be like, drag the yellow paintbrush to the pink paint can. And they have to physically do it. And so it shows that they're comprehending, but they think it's a game. But then there's a little bit harder ones on there where they have to listen to a summary being told, and then the summary disappears, and the pictures disappear, and they have to rewrite it. So those are the not so fun ones, but they end up doing it. And it's about a 45, 50-minute test that's easy to do in a class time. So that's one of the assessments that are more standardized for ESL, but all the rest of them are teacher-made.
Now, when is that given, in the fall or the spring?
Throughout the entire year.
How many times is that given?
5 to 7.
Oh, so it is given. Oh, 5 to 7. Okay,
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if it was 5 to 7 over a period of years, but it's 5
No,
to 7.
the entire year. Yeah. So then the kids can it'll make these graphs, and the kids can see where they started, and then as they're progressing higher. So there's really good. They haven't made any kind of self-reflection papers to go with it, but I always have the kids will look at their specific data and, okay, this is where this happened. What are some strategies you can do for the next time, or what was hard here? And so we'll talk about it, look at what they missed, and kind of help them kind of build up on it a little bit more. So it's the first time we're doing it, so we'll see what it ends up being.
Are the parents, are they a part of that assessment? Are they able to access the scores at home, or do you all have
No.
meetings with them?
The parents don't, but I communicate with the parents fairly on a regular basis. it's easier because I speak their languages. I don't have to. We have a high Spanish speaking population, so all but 2 kids I can speak their languages. And we have a language line here. So if I need to communicate with those parents, I'm able to use somebody who does speak Kirundi or Wolof to speak to those students. But I let the parents know, and then when we have parent nights, I make sure to individually invite them to see what their kids are doing.
Now, the language line, that's a new thing to Fayette County, isn't
Yes.
it? And has that worked out well
The
this year?
other teachers love it. I've only used it 1 or 2 times with those 2 languages, but the other teachers are using it more often, which makes my job a lot easier because I'm translating and interpreting a lot less.
That's wonderful, because I know that it's important for students to be a part of their assessment, but for
Yeah.
their parents to be a part too.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for having me here again, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the year.
Thank you.